million copies sold. The best-selling racing game of its generation. A cultural icon so powerful that 20 years later, BMW built a real tribute car to honor it. A silver and blue M3 GTR, straight from the digital streets of Rockport, displayed in the BMW Museum for fans who grew up chasing cops through those virtual highways. But fast forward to today. The latest Need for Speed game saw sales drop 64% compared to its predecessor. The developer has been reassigned to work on Battlefield. The franchise has been shelved indefinitely. 30 years of history, quietly parked in a garage with no clear return date. What the hell happened? The easy answer is EA happened. The gaming community loves to blame Electronic Arts for everything. But that's lazy analysis. The real story is far more interesting. It's about a series of decisions that made perfect sense in boardrooms and quarterly earnings calls, yet systematically destroyed a billion-dollar franchise in the process. This isn't just a gaming tragedy. This is a business autopsy. And there are lessons here that go far beyond video games. Let's start at the moment Need for Speed became something special. The year is 2003. The Fast and the Furious has exploded at the box office, turning Vin Diesel into an action star and making import tuner culture mainstream. Suddenly, every teenager in America wants a Nissan Skyline with neon underglow and an oversized spoiler. The underground street racing scene has gone from subculture to pop culture phenomenon. Electronic Arts saw this cultural shift. And to their credit, they didn't just slap a movie license on a generic racing game. They hired a studio called EA Black Box, gave them genuine creative freedom, and said, "Make us the game those kids want to play." The result was Need for Speed Underground. And it wasn't just a racing game. It was an identity. For the first time in the franchise's history, you weren't racing Ferraris on pristine European circuits. You were racing Hondas and Mazdas through neon-soaked streets at 2 in the morning. You weren't collecting exotic supercars. You were building your own car piece by piece. Every vinyl decal, every body kit, every ridiculous set of spinning chrome rims. That was yours, your creation. The game understood something fundamental. These players didn't want to be handed a Lamborghini. They wanted to earn it. They wanted to take a regular car, something they might actually see in a parking lot, and transform it into something extraordinary. 15 million copies sold, 5 times more than the game that came before it. They followed it up with Underground 2, an open world this time, a city you could explore, even deeper customization. Another 7 million copies. The formula was working. But more importantly, the team understood why it was working. These weren't simulation fans looking for realistic physics. They were people who wanted to feel something visceral. The rush of illegal street racing. The fantasy of building your dream car from nothing. The adrenaline of being chased by cops while your nitrous kicks in. Then came the masterpiece. Need for Speed. Most Wanted released in November 2005. Everything the series had built, the customization, the street racing fantasy, the rebellious attitude, combined with the most intense police pursuits ever put in a racing game. But here's what elevated Most Wanted from great to legendary. It had stakes. Real, narrative stakes. You start the game by losing your car to a cheater named Razor. Your beloved BMW M3 GTR, gone. Stolen through sabotage. The rest of the game becomes a revenge story. You're climbing the blacklist, 15 of the most notorious street racers in Rockport. 15 grudge matches, each victory bringing you closer to getting back what was stolen. And the police? They weren't background decoration. They were terrifying. Sergeant Cross in his menacing black Corvette, hunting you personally. Spike, strips on highways. Helicopters tracking you from above. The entire Rockport Police Department mobilized to take down one street racer. 18 million copies worldwide. The best-selling Need for Speed ever made. A record that still stands. That silver and blue BMW became one of the most recognizable cars in gaming history. This was the peak. Creative vision, market timing, and business success aligned perfectly. And this is exactly when EA made their first catastrophic mistake. Here's the thing about golden eras. They're fragile. They require specific conditions, specific people who understand the magic, specific decisions that protect what's working, instead of exploiting it. EA's executives looked at Most Wanted's success and saw a formula. Street racing plus police equals revenue. Customization equals engagement metrics. Annual releases equal predictable quarterly earnings. What they didn't see was the invisible ingredient: creative stability. A team that had time to innovate. Developers who weren't burned out from impossible deadlines. Need for Speed Carbon came out exactly 1 year after Most Wanted. Same studio, same formula. But the magic felt thinner. The villain, less memorable. The police chases less intense. It still sold around 15 million copies, but momentum was slowing. Then EA made a decision that would haunt the franchise for a decade. Pro Street released in 2007. No cops, no illegal street racing, no open world. Instead, legal, sanctioned track racing with realistic damage modeling. This wasn't Need for Speed. This was the franchise trying to cosplay as Gran Turismo. There's a business logic here. Simulation racing was growing. Forza Motorsport had just launched on Xbox 360. Gran Turismo dominated PlayStation. EA's strategists thought, why aren't we competing for that audience? But they forgot something crucial. The people who loved Need for Speed didn't want Gran Turismo. They already had Gran Turismo if they wanted it. They came to Need for Speed for the fantasy, the danger, the illegal thrill. Taking that away was like McDonald's deciding to compete with steakhouses by removing hamburgers from their menu. Pro Street underperformed. And when companies see disappointing numbers, they panic. Panic leads to reactive decisions. Need for Speed Undercover arrived in 2008. A desperate, rushed attempt to return to what worked. Open world back, cops back, underground racing back. But EA Black Box was being run into the ground. The team that created Underground and Most Wanted was exhausted. Development time compressed beyond reason. The game shipped with broken AI, poor performance, and recycled assets. John Ricciardello, EA's CEO at the time, admitted in an interview they were trying to extend development cycles from 12 months to 24 because the pace was unsustainable. But Undercover only got 16.5 months. Not enough time to fix anything. The people running the company knew the schedule was killing their games. They tried to fix it. And they still couldn't give their team enough time. The machinery of annual releases had too much momentum to stop. EA Black Box employees later described this period as a death march. That's what happens when you treat creative professionals like factory workers. Inspiration doesn't punch a time clock. After Undercover's disappointment, EA pivoted, hard, in multiple directions simultaneously. Over the next 4 years, Need for Speed became 4 completely different games. Shift in 2009, a full simulation racer from a different studio. Hot Pursuit in 2010, Criterion Games bringing their Burnout crash physics. The Run in 2011, a scripted cinematic experience with quick-time events. Most Wanted 2012, Criterion again, essentially Burnout Paradise with Need for Speed branding. 4 years, 4 studios, 4 completely different creative visions, 4 different answers to a fundamental question. What is Need for Speed supposed to be? Nobody knew anymore. Not EA, not the developers, not the audience. This is brand identity crisis in its most destructive form. Think back to what made Most Wanted great in 2005. It wasn't one element, it was confidence. The game knew exactly what it was. Underground culture, deep customization, intense pursuits, a revenge narrative. Every element reinforced every other element. When you don't know what your brand represents, neither does your audience. And when your audience doesn't know what to expect, they stop showing up. Why risk $60 when you don't know what you're actually buying? In 2013, EA handed the franchise to Ghost Games, a new studio in Sweden. Roughly 80% were former Criterion employees. The plan: give Need for Speed a permanent home. Their first project, Rivals. Decent reviews, solid gameplay, still no clear identity. Their second game was marketed as the definitive return to form. Need for Speed 2015. No subtitle, a complete reboot. Visually stunning, arguably the best-looking racing game of its generation. Rain-slicked streets reflecting neon lights. Perpetual nighttime, authentically underground. But the execution betrayed the promise. Always online connectivity meant you couldn't pause, ever. The map was surprisingly small. Customization felt limited compared to Underground 2 from a decade earlier. The pattern was impossible to ignore. Each new Need for Speed promised a glorious return. Each fell short. Each release trained the audience to lower expectations. Then came 2017, Need for Speed Payback. The game featured a Fast and Furious-inspired story with heist missions and action set pieces. But buried in its design was something that would become a disaster: speed cards. Previous games let you upgrade your car by purchasing performance parts. Simple, satisfying. Payback replaced this with randomized cards. To improve your vehicle, you collected cards with random stats. Want better cards faster? Purchase loot boxes with real money. This wasn't just bad design. It was predatory by intention. The progression was deliberately tuned to feel slow and frustrating, pushing players toward spending beyond the purchase price. The same month, Star Wars Battlefront 2 launched with similar mechanics. The backlash was apocalyptic. Government investigations. Belgium's gambling commission involved. EA became the face of everything wrong with gaming monetization. Need for Speed Payback had the same disease, the same corporate philosophy, the same conclusion that players could be squeezed through manufactured frustration. Here's what makes this insidious. Short term, these schemes work. Some players pay to skip the grind. Revenue increases. Executives receive bonuses. But you're poisoning your own water supply. Every player who feels manipulated remembers. Every time they consider your next product, that memory influences their decision. You've trained your audience to distrust you. By 2019, EA's reputation was so damaged that Need for Speed Heat launched with a promise that should never need to be a marketing point. No loot boxes. Not now. Not ever. Heat was actually good. Day and night cycle creating gameplay variety. Police chases feeling dangerous again. Customization returning to prominence. Critics and players responded positively. But the damage had accumulated beyond repair. Trust, once broken, takes far longer to rebuild than destroy. Ghost Games was restructured, renamed, reduced to a support role. The studio, that spent 6 years trying to rebuild Need for Speed, was scattered before they could capitalize on their progress. While Need for Speed was destroying its relationship with players, something remarkable happened elsewhere. Forza Horizon 5 launched in 2021, 10 million players in the first week, eventually surpassing 50 million across all platforms. When Microsoft released it on PlayStation in 2025, it immediately became the best-selling game on that platform. The open-world arcade racing market that Need for Speed essentially invented, Forza Horizon completely owns it now. The difference isn't budget, though Forza had more resources. It isn't graphics or car counts. The difference is consistency. Playground Games made every single Forza Horizon. Same studio, same creative leadership, same core team evolving their vision over a decade. Each game iteratively better, more refined, more polished, more confident. They never chased simulation racing, never abandoned their identity, never scrambled between directions and studio handoffs. They picked a lane, joyful open-world driving in beautiful locations. And they drove it perfectly until they dominated the category. Meanwhile, where is Need for Speed today? Criterion Games, supposedly the franchise's savior, reassigned to Battlefield. The entire team moved to a different project. The franchise officially shelved. EA's statement says Need for Speed will return in new and interesting ways. That's corporate language for having no idea what to do anymore. So what can we learn from this 30-year rise and fall? First, creative exhaustion has real costs that don't show up in spreadsheets. Annual releases look great in financial projections, predictable revenue, consistent metrics, but they burn out your most valuable asset, talented people with creative vision. They compress time needed for innovation. They turn development into a death march, where survival becomes the goal instead of excellence. Your people are not interchangeable components. Their best ideas don't emerge from pressure. They emerge from space to think. Second, identity is a competitive moat. Need for Speed couldn't decide what it wanted to be: simulation or arcade, open world or linear. Each pivot alienated existing fans while failing to capture new ones. Forza Horizon knew exactly what it was from day one and never wavered. Clarity beats complexity. The companies that win aren't the ones that can do everything. They're the ones that know what they do best and relentlessly improve at that specific thing. Third, trust compounds like interest, in both directions. Loot boxes in Payback. Always online in the 2015 reboot. Buggy releases pushed to meet arbitrary deadlines. Each decision might seem minor in isolation. Together, they systematically destroyed the relationship between EA and people who once loved this franchise. You can recover from a bad product. Products can be fixed. But you cannot easily recover from the feeling that a company doesn't respect its customers. Need for Speed wasn't killed by one catastrophic decision. It died from 1,000 small ones. Annual schedules that burned out developers who knew how to make magic. Identity pivots that confused audiences. Monetization that prioritized extraction over experience. Leadership that treated a creative franchise like a spreadsheet problem. Here's the bitter irony. The audience never disappeared. Millions still watch Most Wanted gameplay on YouTube. Still post Underground memories on social media. Still ask for Underground 3. The demand never died. Only the supply. Maybe Need for Speed comes back someday. Maybe someone figures out how to recapture lightning that escaped 2 decades ago. But if they succeed, it won't be because they discovered a clever monetization model. Won't be because they chased whatever trend seems popular. Won't be because they shuffled to yet another studio. It will be because someone finally convinced the company to do something surprisingly simple. Pick a lane and stay in it. The franchise didn't fail because racing games stopped being popular. Forza's 50 million players prove that's absurd. It didn't fail because the original formula was outdated. People still pour hundreds of hours into Underground 2 using emulators. It failed because the people making decisions forgot what players actually wanted. Not realistic physics, not battle royale modes, not loot boxes. They wanted that feeling. The feeling of being a street racing outlaw in a city that came alive at night. Building something from nothing and making it beautiful. Your heart racing as cops close in, and you're not sure you'll make it. That feeling isn't complicated to understand. It's just expensive to execute. It requires time, talent, and trust. 3 things quarterly pressure systematically destroys. 30 years. Over 150 million copies. Billions in revenue. Cultural impact that transcended gaming. All of it. Slowly strangled by decisions that made sense in conference rooms, but killed the magic that made those rooms possible. That's the tragedy of Need for Speed. The road to irrelevance is paved with individually reasonable decisions. The question is whether anyone else is paying attention.